It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
We transition after that first 5 years of marriage into this. And this is I hate this because honeymoon sounds sexy. It sounds fun. And then you transition into, and I can almost hear the wah, wah, wah. It's the 7-year itch.
Yeah, this is for folks who've been married.
It doesn't even sound good.
No, it doesn't sound good. We're classifying the 7-year itch period as folks who've been married anywhere from 6 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So this actually is me. This is where I fall in. This is where my wife and I are right now in terms of how long we've been married.
I've already driven through this part of the road trip.
This is way in the
I looked out
mirror.
the window to the left, I looked out the window to the right, even stopped at a few places to make sure that I learned some wisdom, and that's what we're going to share some of that. But it is, and where does this term, this 7-year itch? This is a sad statistic. And this is even before we get to Daniel's divorce stats. But it is true that the 7-year itch refers to the average length of a marriage that ends in divorce. In 2017, the average length of a marriage that will end in divorce is approximately 8 years. Now realize, there's a whole legal process that has to go in.
Right.
So it probably is somewhere in that 6-year, 7-year mark that people start going, what in the world's going on here? And that's what we want to kind of help you avoid some of those problems, because there's also some distractors that are out there in your marriage this far into it. Is it probably, between 6 and 10 years, you got kids.
Yep.
You got these trophies
Tricycle
of the
motors.
love of the marriage that that you have here are these children that are the result of this marriage. And we all think the fairy tale of children is, man, this is going to be so easy.
It's going to bring us so much closer.
Oh, man, I can just see and that does eventually. There are some tremendous benefits, but anybody who's got, and you're closer to this phase than I am.
There.
Those first 2 years, we call them in the weeds for a reason, man. Kids are tough.
That's exactly right.
I mean, I'm looking, Morpheus knows too. I mean, we have multiple people here that know, these little kids that will one day become self-sufficient, earn a living. They're really, humans are, for as powerful as human beings are, really helpless when they're little. Really, it's not like they're not baby deer where they come out and they start jotting and running around the field immediately. Baby humans, they just make a lot of chaos.
And we don't want to minimize. I mean, look, newlywed phase is hard. There's no doubt about it. We just said second year is the highest divorced year. But life, just as we age, it tends to just get a little more complicated, a little bit hard, a little more complicated. And so this 6 to 10 year window, it's kind of a tough one from a marriage standpoint.
So, Bo, go ahead, because I feel like, and I like how Daniel put a different Grim Reaper picture for everyone. He really had a lot of fun with this. So, Daniel's divorce stats, what did he put on the 7-year itch?
Yeah, he said around the 7-year point in a marriage, kids no longer protect the marriage from divorce. So what ends up happening is when you first get married and maybe you're going through some, okay, well, we'll have a kid and that'll change things. And you're like, okay, well, we'll stay together for the kid. Well, the kids begin to start getting
I've never understood that. How in the world does having children make things better? It is. It's like, woo,
people who
let's
have
drop
kids
a
that think
grenade in this thing and see if that grenade makes a pretty garden.
And so what happens, the kids get a little bit older, they get a little more self-sufficient, still not self-sufficient, a little more self-sufficient. So now the marriage is no longer held together by the need to make this baby stay alive. It's not bottles and diapers and babas and poo-poos and stuff. And so the average length of marriage that ends in divorce, like you said, is right there, right at 8 years long.
So let's try to figure out, what are these traps that you need to avoid so you don't fall into Daniel's divorce statistics. The first thing, and this is an important one, guys, I will tell you, if you want to help your marriage, is understand what brought you and your spouse together. And then as that love has grown the family to have children, you need to make sure that letting the kids become the center of not only your financial life, but your personal life can cause some bad things.
Yeah, if you had kids as a means to keep the marriage together, and then you were dependent upon the kids to keep the marriage, that's just not set up on solid foundation. Because ultimately, even if all goes great, those kids are going to fly the nest one day. And so you need to make sure that you and your spouse are on solid financial footing. Don't let the kids be the glue that holds it together.
I mean, I don't think, maybe y'all think this is mean.
Oh, what's coming?
But no,
Reevy, what's coming?
Show for people. I have no problem telling either one of my kids that their mother comes before either one. I mean, and I think that's it. You tell that because 100%. What you're hoping is your kids, if they understand that, it keeps them, first of all, it keeps them humble, but you hope it's modeling a behavior that they'll say, man, I hope my spouse puts me before anything else. And
Absolutely.
that's what always, plus it also, because, you know, as you start having kids, you do go from that, you know, where, man, isn't it great we have a kid to start, you play man to man. And then if you have more than two, you go to zone. It's nice if you have a partner that you can go, that kid's crazy. I mean, yeah, we made that baby, but that kid crazy. I mean, it's nice if you have a teammate that you're you're in this together, versus sometimes you see situations where it can be one or maybe even two of you together. You put that child at the center of your universe, and that can cause long-term ramifications, especially financially.
I was going to say, yeah, it is so bad relationally. It's also really bad financially. We've done a great show on the financial order of operations. If you want to go check that out, we're going to put a link in the description of this video. But you can see it's not towards the top of the list. It's actually after you get your financial footing.
It's in the fourth
place.
quarter.
That's
That's
right.
what I always tell people. So don't let your kids take too much of your oxygen. The next thing, assuming you will live forever. I mean, this is powerful, Bo.
Yeah, so let's say you do have the kids and you're in that stage. Now it's important that you protect this family that you've built. You do want to make sure that you have the things in place that you need, like life insurance, like disability insurance, like umbrella insurance. Just because you are young does not mean that you're invincible. Folks who've been married for 6 to 10 years most often tend to be younger still. I would throw myself in that category, but you're not invincible. So make sure you're protecting those things that really matter to you.
Now, look, 6 to 10 years, you're still probably a pretty young person through this phase, but you still have to protect yourself from that Tuesday afternoon where you get hit by the bus.
That's right.
I mean, that's what we're talking about here. That's
exactly
you
right.
said it already, but the life insurance, the wills, all that type of stuff, disability, umbrella insurance, make sure all those things get protected.
Yep.
Next one, understanding the unique and distinct financial roles.
Now, Brian, you'll have to tell me if you agree with this. I feel like what I've seen amongst my friends and peer group for marriages that have not gone well or ended well is folks missing this a lot. Missing what is my role, what is your role, and placing actually more value on one than the other.
Yep.
Oh, well, I'm the one who goes out and works and I make all the money for this household, and your job is to do this, this, and this.
Well, think about this. In those first 2 years of marriage, I know we're past that. We're no longer in the honeymoon period. But I know one of the things that I struggled with was fortunately, I grew up washing dishes.
Okay.
So I'm the dishwasher.
Okay.
Fortunately, my wife is OCD about laundry, meaning
Okay.
that, Brian, college, I've been doing my own laundry since I was in the 8th grade, but all laundry gets washed in the same wash.
Oh,
We
there's
don't
no
sort.
color sorting.
No, you just don't buy red. You know what the secret to life is?
You went to
Just
Georgia. That
don't
can't
buy
be
red.
true.
Well, I would recycle. I would wear, my red would get washed once every quarter.
Oh, there we go.
So you wear undershirts with red. That's
Got
what
it.
you do, Bo.
Perfect.
You don't wash red with anything else. Everything else can get thrown in. But me and my wife, when it came to scrubbing commodes, nobody wanted to do that. Nobody wants to be the commode scrubber. So you got to have open communications on the roles you're going to play. And just like that's an obstacle you have to overcome, you have to figure out, and these are the roles kind of we're talking about, Bo, is that, you know, eventually you are going to one spouse is probably going to become the breadwinner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if you're both working, one's going to earn more money. So you have to talk about that, figure that out. And then as you start having children, who's going to kind of be, if it's important that one spouse is going to stay at home and play more of a domestic role versus the other one out there with the economic, how does that all, and this is why, now you're starting to say, this is where the wisdom kicks in. You go, oh, wait a minute, I'm starting to catch on why two needs to become one, and we don't need to keep all of our assets separated, because if I'm the guy, and look, like I said, traditionally I am the man, my wife's the woman, but we see all type of situations where you can't, it's not gender, it's not, you know, the way the marriage is structured. There is going to be somebody that makes more money, and you have to take those things into account. And if you came into the marriage as the breadwinner, and you kind of are flexing on that because y'all have separate accounts, and maybe this spouse was working, making a decent living, but then is now doing the domestic stuff of raising kids. How do they need to come to you every time they need money because y'all are keeping separate accounts? I think that creates some really hostile, weird relationships, and it also creates some. I will tell you, in my marriage, I got some no-go land. I mean, this is area that, whew, if you want to. if you want to ensure that flame of your marriage is just going to be, it's almost got a pot over the lid there, to make sure that flame doesn't get hot. I know I can't say, here's no-go land in Brian Preston's house. I make the money.
Oh,
if I said that, gone. I mean, my wife is good. I mean, I might have stuff thrown at me. And here's another one my wife finally corrected me on. Honey, I'm tired of babysitting. You can't babysit your own kids.
That's what she said to you?
No, I said that to me. My wife's smarter than I am.
No. I said she told you that you can't babysit your own kids.
I said, honey, I can't babysit today. I gotta go do. Honey, she's like, you can't babysit your own kids. So these are. So I know I can't talk about who's watching the kids so much, who makes the money. Though that is all no-go land. You have to basically come to a mutual respect of who's going to do what in the household, and it has to function. It has to work.
And you have to value what those different roles, different responsibilities are.
I think we've beaten on that enough. And I want to kind of transition one of the last ones, which was not communicating well. Wow, speaking of not communicating, not communicating well, and then keeping financial secrets.
Yeah, that's a big one. And again, I think we see this all the time. We actually have friends who taught us about, I've got this card over here. I've got this account over here that so-and-so doesn't know about, or that's my play account. And it's one thing if we have couples all the time that have different blow money pots.
Yep.
I have my blow money. He or she has her blow money. That's different than keeping financial secrets, than having the credit card that's offline. That's a
offline credit cards, secret accounts. Truthfully, that's no-go land too.
Yep.
And then the last one we had on this section was, all the distractions of life can really push and take your eye off the ball.
Yeah, you get stuck in that grass is greener mindset, thinking that, this didn't go exactly the way that I thought. I need to go shift over here and think about something else. And that's just not
That's dangerous too.
You taught me, one of the things you taught me really early on in my marriage, Brian, you said I have to control the inner voice in my head.
It's one of those things. Look, I've been married 21 years. I can't believe I'm saying that. Doesn't even sound right. 21 years. I must have gotten married when I was 15.
Yeah, I had like 10
But it's one of those things that I learned along the way. Like I said, there's a lot of road wear on road trips here of things to do and things not to do. And one of the things that I had to learn, and I think my wife had to learn this too, is that we all have this inner voice. Mm-hmm. And, you think you're your own worst enemy in the fact that you're thinking about, man, she doesn't appreciate me, mm-hmm. Or he doesn't appreciate me, right. Or, I'm taken for granted. There's all this stuff that just bubbles up under the surface, and then you start playing mind tricks with each other. And we'll get into this even in some deeper phases, but you'll start going, man, maybe I'm entitled to this, mm-hmm. or the grass is greener over here. Get that stuff out. Whatever is going on in your brain with that inner voice, turn that negative into a positive. Right. Don't look at it glass half empty. Look at it as glass half full. What are the blessings in your life? What are the things? And one of the things I always tell people when they're struggling, I'm like, look, you got yourself in this situation where you were attracted to this type of personality and this person. There's a good chance, even if you hit reset, blew it all up, you're going to end up in the exact same situation with somebody who is just like
Very
that
similar.
Because you're attracted to that type of, in some weird way.
It's so true.
There is something you probably were attracted to. But get the communication, get that inner voice right, and I think it will help you fix a lot of the mindset things and control that voice in your head.
So how do you know if you're doing it right at 6 to 10? Let's talk about some of the indicators of success. The very first one, you hear the Money Guy show, you hear us talk about this all the time. A financial indicator of success this stage is you are hitting that 20 to 25% savings goal. You need to be saving 20, 25%. If you're hitting that, it's a sign that your marriage might be on sound financial footing.
You are doing it right. This is the part where you might be graduating from the budget to a cash management plan because you have automated your financial life to where things are going right where they're supposed to. And it's just great. Plus it takes out all those emotional roadblocks that you'll do. Is the market going up? Is the market going down? Who cares? Because you're saving 20, 25%. Rain or shine, you're making good decisions. Next indicator of success, paying off that credit card every month.
Yep, I think just paying off debt in general is huge. What I think is so great is when you're newlywed, it's just the way life works. When you do your net worth statement, debt tends to tick up, tick up, tick up. What's beautiful is around this stage, you actually start doing some net worth statements when that total debt load starts to go down, which is fantastic and exciting.
Just because I know we have to keep moving on this, but keep the debt below 35%. Auto debt needs to be 20% down, paid off, 3 years amortization,
Yep.
no more than 8% of your total net worth. Housing, less than 25% of your adjusted gross income.
That's exactly right. That's perfect.
Risk are covered at this section. This is another indicator of success is you got the appropriate life insurance. Because you got kids, you got those trophies of the love of your marriage, you might as well have wills that reflect this stage of life.
That's exactly right.
And then you've got an emergency fund that's going to set you up no matter if you lose your job, hot water heater blows up, you get in a car accident, you're on good, stable ground.
No, what I think is great, there's a bunch of tools you can use in this phase. Brian, the very first one we came up with, it doesn't even have anything to do with
you
finances.
came up with this one. I give you mad credit for
It's
this.
because I'm in this stage.
Yeah.
Like this one is one I recognize I have to prioritize. Is a date night.
Yeah.
If you find yourself in your marriage and that simmer is not simmering, you got to do something to get it going. So one of the things that I try to do is I try to put a date night on the calendar with my wife every month. I should probably do it every week, but with our kids, we're just busy. At least once a month, we go do something, just she and I. It just allows us to keep that flame burning.
Remember the whole analogy we did earlier on the pot. You want to keep the contents of the marriage hot, guys. You got to keep it. You got to keep that thing going. Keep the passion there. So the date night's going to help with that. It doesn't have to be. I know Bo said on his honeymoon he was going to be talking budgets. It doesn't always have to be financial, but definitely make sure you're taking your loved one out. Annual net worth statement, Bo. That's a powerful tool.
You got to be doing it at this stage.
High yield savings account, because remember we got cash reserves. That's one of the indicators of success. You might as well make sure you're not in a brick and mortar. Make sure you're getting those, greater than 2% interest rate. I know that dates this show now when interest rates are eventually going to be 4%, but you should at least maximize with a high yield savings account. You got life insurance. That's a tool. Estate documents.
Hey, here's a quick note on that. The newlyweds might not have listened to us, right? They didn't get it when we told them to. So now you went out to legal, I don't remember the name of it, but let's assume there's one that you can do online that you can do it yourself. It's important to note that estate documents matter. They have to be executed the right way. So just do some Google research in your town and your state to make sure that you do that the right way.
Like the right witnesses and other things.
Exactly.
And then other things. Here's one that, sometimes you'll have a trust or other things created. Make sure you actually do what the attorney
That's
wants you to
exactly
do
right.
as well. That's good execution as well. And then one of the last things we had on here is goal prioritization breakdown. Do you know? Go ahead.
If you remember that sheet of dreams that you made in the newlywed stage, now you actually, at this stage, you have to start prioritizing them. What are 10 out of 10s and what are 1 out of 10s? And how are we going to organize how we want to start attacking these financial long-term life goals we have?
Yeah, and I liked it because some of those goals could be retirement, college, kids, pre-college, if you got private school and
That's
other things, trips. How important is it creating those memories? And then, of course, houses and cars. So that's that stretch. So we transition from the 7-year itch,
All right, I'm
which is
out.
6 to 10.
See you later. We just covered
This
mine.
is when you're going to count on my wisdom, right?